Yeah, go.
You are live. It tells me I'm live. Good evening, people. Please tell me I'm live. Let's see what the lag is.
You are live and sound is
It's
good.
saying live there.
You're live and sounds good.
Thank you. But it was different there. Okay.
So
So we've got about 15 seconds lag at the moment. But good evening, everybody. Lost Souls, Jenny, Scar, Gary, Desert Fox, good evening. 5B5, thank you, Lost Souls. No, the lovely Mrs. W's there as well, obviously, in the background. And the furry assassin walking up there who just won't leave me alone at the moment. So how are we all tonight then? Let's see how many aren't watching the shit on the TV tonight. Marine Sack, good evening. And we have got it on here, but with subtitles, and I'm not going to be watching it all the time. Patrick, good evening, mate. How are you? I mean, it's only going to be the same as last week. They keep saying it's a debate, but it's just a slagging fest.
That's Beth Rigby as well. It's my three favourite people.
What you on about?
It's Beth Rigsby as well.
Oh, yeah, well, I know.
My three favourite people in the same room.
Individual marriage. We've had the polling cards, Holly, but we've had to go online and register for a postal vote because we're not going to be here. It's in the middle of our holiday, unfortunately, so I can't go in the polling office or whatever it is they're going to use this time and create mayhem like I did in the local ones. Oh, we're going to vote, Holly. We're definitely going to vote.
Not voting is just wasting your time.
It's not voting doesn't do a lot of good at all. Good evening, Missy. Good evening, Karen. If you're not going to vote, then, you don't get nothing to say in or about it. But as I've said in the video before, people are going to be doing what they call a tactical vote. They're not going to be voting for who they want in power. They're going to be voting against those that they don't want. Now, Reform, I haven't got a hope in hell of winning. There's only going to be one outcome of this, and I will predict it. There's many others. It's going to be Labour. But do you want the Conservatives as the opposition party sat on the other side of the house, or would you prefer Reform? Because that's where your vote will count. Labour are going to win it, without a doubt. Everything's pointing to that way. Yes, it is, Gary. That's what they're saying for. They're not there to be voted in for a win this time. They know they wouldn't get it. So what they want to do is get voted in and get enough so they can be the main opposition party, which gives them a better chance in the next one in 5 years' time. And the thing is, what you've got to understand, if nobody voted, it doesn't matter who Labour have got in charge, Holly. It's what the party says, isn't it? What they stand for. But I've said this before. If nobody voted, if you said, right, nobody vote, they can't do nothing. Well, they can, because they can all vote for themselves. So literally, if nobody out here in the world voted and the MPs voted themselves, it would be the party that has got the biggest membership. But they would still get in, and they still class that as a win, which they class as the country has given them permission to act on their behalf because they won the general election.
Even if there was only 3 people voting.
Yeah, even if there was only 3 people voting and 2 voted for one side and 1 for the other, that one that won could still run the country. I would say there's already Muslims in the parties, Holly. Quite a few of them, in fact, I would have thought. Just that none of them have admitted what religions they follow. The worst one for the Islamists and what have you is the Green Party. If you followed the local elections on that, you saw what they were like when they won their seat. But they've been banned from actually having an Islamic party at the moment. But with what the way things are working out in Europe at the moment, we don't know what's going to happen. Yes, they are, Ska. Starmer, he says it right. He said it right at the last one that they had on the TV, that they're living on the past. And they haven't done anything in the past. As far as I can see, not in the last few years anyway. They failed at everything they wanted to do, including Brexit. That was supposed to have been finished by now. But there you go. I mean, he's coming up with all these big ideas now. Why haven't they come up with them before? Why haven't they debated them before? Why haven't they been given a reading in-house? They're clutching at straws. And all this, oh, we're going to knock 2p off your national insurance. That is literally nothing but a bribe. The cat's on the arm of the chair where it normally sits when I'm live. Unchipped, of course. But yeah, all these harebrained ideas. Now, the worst one to me, yeah, it is a bribe, Holly. It is a bribe. Is this ridiculous idea of national service? Now, they interviewed a young lad earlier on, obviously a Tory supporter, saying, yes, oh, yes, the national service is a good idea. Well, this is for 18-year-olds and upwards. Well, from 16, as long as you've left school, you can sign up in the fucking army or the navy or the air force. So these little fucking wet wipes that are saying, oh, yes, it's a good idea, we'll go for it. Why don't you just go and fucking sign up? See how far you get. Because it'll be the same thing. The only difference is you'll get 2 years of national service rather, I think it's 3 of basic, is it now they give you? It used to be 3 years. Evening, Phil. Yeah, not too bad, mate. I've been very, very tired lately. I don't know what it is. Sometimes it just hits for a couple of weeks and
Need a holiday.
I need a holiday, and we're getting that soon. I've got all you can see the fishing box in the background there. I've got all the reels out and repaired what needed repairing and servicing and changing line and what have you. So they're all ready to go. I've just got to check all the rods out now, make sure there's no broken rings on them. And we're ready to go, basically, bar throwing some clothes in the bag. But yeah, it's going to be a pain being away through the election, and I won't be able to do much live streaming from up there anyway. Because one, I'm only going to have the laptop. So, pound line, what you fishing? I use everything from £15 main line up to a £30, £40 main line, Gary. Depending on conditions, depending on tide, depending on what I'm fishing for. Dale, good evening. Yes, Missy, that's exactly it. Anything they give you, they'll be taken away with the other hand. Like Roland keeps bleating on about, oh, we've given the pensioners this amount of rise. People are saving, what is it, £900 on national insurance, but they're paying it back in other ways. They're not just going to give it out like that. And he's making so many promises of spending so many billion on this, that, and the other. They haven't got a fucking penny in the pot to piss in. It's all borrowed from the bank. And he's done nothing with the economy. He's done nothing with the cost of living. Now he's saying they're going to help the drivers and bring in stuff there. Well, that's stuff we've been moaning about for fucking years that he could have already put in place, which he hasn't. So everything he's coming out with now is either bullshit or a bribe. And I'm not calling anybody stupid, but if people can't see that, then they really, really need a checkup from the neck up. It's plainly obvious. You know, when even his own party deserting him, and that tells you something. You know, two ex-home secretaries are calling him out and telling he's wrong, or telling him he's wrong. You probably got predictive text on then, Dale. Open one of them new iPhones with all the new tracking stuff on it and data storage that they can get into, and that's all built into them now. Even the new Androids have got it. The old Androids haven't. And that's why I stick with them. Yeah, if it's one of the new ones, Dale, then you've got all the apps that you don't know about that are on there that you won't even be able to find or turn off. They're all in there. Heather Frid? What the fuck's that, Gary?
Heather Friday.
Oh, Friday. Oh.
Yeah, Roger hasn't had children, so he can't guess at what people are trying to say. I've had kids and grandchildren, so I understand when things are messy.
I've had kids, but there weren't no mobile phones around back in them days. Bobo Cat. Yeah, she's here. Still no cyborg implants. But that's a ridiculous idea, chipping all the cats. What are they going to do? Knock on every door to see who's fucking got one? You know, the only people they could reasonably find is people like me, who's got a cat, is on here and publicly saying, go fuck yourself, you're not low jacking my cat.
If they find her walking the streets, I will accept a fine for her not being chipped.
Yeah. I mean, she struggles to get out in the back garden. She can't get over the 5-foot fence that's out there. She hasn't been out of the garden in the last 14 years. Oh, they already tracked that, Dale. believe it or not. And you'll be surprised the instrument that you, well, I say track your shit. They know when you've had one, put it that way. Because your smart meter will tell them that. With its pressure sensors. If you don't believe me, go and check it out. Who's it today said they wanted to get rid of Ofwat and what? I think it was Labour, wasn't it?
No, it was the Lib Dems.
Lib Dems, was it? Thank you.
They want to put it all into one.
Yeah.
So if it's to do with water, it doesn't matter whether it's the rivers, drinking water.
Yeah, it'll all come under the same
It all
banner.
comes under the same group, and they look after everything.
But then, you know, what are you going to do? Ofgen, Ofwat, Ofcom. You know, personally, I think these should be replaced with public bodies. So the companies can be held to account. At the moment, we know like Ofcom, what have you, Ofgen, they're more or less government controlled. They do what the government tell them to do, which is wrong because that isn't holding any of the companies to account. We've seen it with water boards, we've seen it with the energy, and we've seen it with the online safety and censorship. That's been put in the hands of Ofcom now. They're the ones running the shit show. Yeah, exactly, Missy. I mean, they've been no good at what they're supposed to be doing. We've seen that, otherwise you wouldn't be in the shit that we are now. But, I mean, the Lib Dems did give their manifesto yesterday. I didn't bother fucking listening to it. It's a waste of time. It was all NHS, if I remember rightly. Well, all parties should be looking at reforming the NHS. So, you know, that's nothing new. That should be in all their manifestos, no matter how big or small they are. But just picking on one system like that, it's not much of a manifesto, really.
115 pages of manifesto. On page 112, it said they want to go back in the EU.
Yeah. Well, a lot of them want to go back in the EU. Labour want to go back in the EU. That's one of the bigger worries. Sunak wasn't happy about leaving because he says he wants to leave the ECHR, but he doesn't. In fact, he called it a partner the other day in one of his little speeches, his little crying sessions. But yet, I mean, you think about Sunak, we're stopping the boats. No, they're not. We know they're not. They've never stopped them. Now, you imagine how far in the NHS that 10 million a day would go that they're spending on these fuckers that are here now. You know, it would be cheaper to just chuck them on planes and fucking boats and get them out of the fucking country than it will to keep them. Same with funding these fucking wars that have nothing to do with us. Stop funding, spending millions on them, spend them millions on this country. And I hate to say it, people will slate me for saying it, but do away with foreign aid for now. Because we can't help anybody else if we can't fucking help ourselves. We need to get this country back on its feet and up and running as it should be before we even attempt to help anybody else. Yes, Scar, it is. The weather, I've said that for months and months and months. The only thing that stops them coming is the weather. Sunak went on there telling them, oh yeah, we're going to work. Well, and fucking Starmer did as well. We're working with our European partners to stop the boats. Well, for a start, they're not your fucking partners. You shouldn't be fucking listening to them because they are part of the problem, not the cure. And now my phone's just... Great white sharks coming back to the UK. Well, as far as I know, they're here, Holly. They have been some time. What the fuck? Oh. It's all right, people. Sorry about this. One of my phones has gone fucking do-dally. It's doing stuff all on its own. It's listening to me.
Just leave it.
No, right, and then it's going to keep binging and bonging by the sat next to me there.
Oh, shut
All
up.
right. Good evening, Stuart. But yeah, there's nothing is really going to change. No matter who gets in, we're still going to be in the shit. We're still going to be under control, or they try to control us. I mean, as we know now, the police have lost control of everything. They're too frightened to fucking face the issues, shall I say. They'd rather pick on the smaller minorities. And police him with fear and favour. Not without fear and favour. Good evening, Tony. But yeah, that's where we are today. You know, you couldn't make a lot of this shit up. And 5-10 years ago, if you'd have said anything like this was going to happen, you'd have said, fuck off, you're taking the piss. Good evening, Rookie. How you doing, buddy? But yeah, I mean, another one here. These are just notes. I was going to do a video yesterday, but I didn't end up doing it. But one should call oneself police oneself. Well, they've got to be held accountable, Gary. This is the thing, and they're not. They're not being held accountable. All right, Lee. Good evening, bud. I mean, are the Conservatives happy with what Khan's doing in London? Obviously, Labour are. Otherwise, they'd have reined him in by now. And now, whether people know or not, he has signed us up, or London up, for the planetary diet thing by 2030. Now, this is to do with the C40 cities from the WEF. And that little section, he is actually, I think he's the chairman or the CEO or something of that group. They want to force people in London to eat what they're told. You will be restricted on how much meat you can eat. You'll be fed nothing but again rabbit food and probably bugs. But should that be allowed? Surely that's one of your basic rights, is to eat what you want to eat. Fellow patriots and hi, Simon. Good evening, mate. But yeah, we've seen this for months now. Years and years. I've always known there's been vegans out there. There's been vegetabilists, I call them, the herbivores. But I've never once bothered them about what they eat. Evening Moot. I've never gone and stood outside of greengrocers and said, you can't eat that shit. And to be quite honest, how would they feel if we made up some false lettuce leaves and false fucking vegetables and said, here, you got to eat this? Yeah, yet they're quite happy to stand outside Burger King or Butchers and slate us for what we're eating. Nah, go fuck yourselves.
If it's so good, why do they want it to taste of meat?
And why do they call it false meat? Why do they make it to look like meat? These are questions that have been asked for years now. But, maybe if I start seeing them outside Burger King, I might just go in and make a purchase and stand in front of them and eat it, just to annoy the fuckers like they do us. Good evening, James.
You don't go out. How would you see anybody?
So if you told a person some yeah. No, I couldn't eat a whole one moo. They get, they're like them little stringy things that get stuck in your teeth, aren't they? But no, I've never felt the urge to ridicule them. A bit like lesbians love Tilda. Oh my God. But yeah, you eat what you want to eat, the same as you've always done. Leave us alone to eat what we want to eat, and we'll all get on just fine. Because it's things like that that cause hassles in this country. Well, they're not allowed to call them whoppers anymore. I don't think Blitzer. They broke some agreement that was made some years ago, or some patent or something. But,
You sure that was the Whopper?
It was something to do with Whopper is Burger King, isn't it? Yeah, it was Mackie D's that said that Big Mac. That was it. It was over the Big Mac. It's too small to call a Whopper. Yeah, nothing looking like they look like in the pictures in the advertising, are they, Gary? They look quite nice there, but then you look at the sad little fucking thing in its bag when you get one. Funny enough, we had homemade burgers last night, and they were better than anything you'd ever buy in a place like that.
Yeah.
And is the other thing that people miss. Vegans, vegetabilists, let's get rid of all the animals. So what are you going to use as fucking fertilizer then to grow yours? You want to do away with the farmers, get rid of all the animals. Who's going to grow your food? Think about it. One of my favourite foods, bacon. They actually eat the scraps that you don't eat and the offcuts when you're preparing your food.
You can let them rot and they won't give up off that much meat.
Yeah, most of that fast food, it's all American, James. I mean, look at the size of the average American now. And they wonder why obesity is taking over from one of the biggest problems in the NHS. You've only got to look at what people are eating, haven't they? This is what happens when they get loads of artificial shit in them. All hail the bacon. Bit late in the year, but I reckon next year's going to be epic. How'd you figure that one then, Gary? What's that all about?
He's got himself an allotment.
Oh. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll set you a challenge, and Gary, if you've got an allotment. You've got to eat nothing other than what you grow on that allotment. See how long it lasts you. Planted hoofs in the hope. Yeah, I'll try getting bacon seeds that you can't get them. But you'll be surprised how much ground you actually need to grow enough to sustain, say, a 4-person family, husband and wife and 2 kids. You'd be absolutely shocked at the amount of ground that you need. What you're going to do when the frost kills a lot? When animals dig it all up. And then when there's nothing in the shops, you've got everybody else down there trying to rip it off and dig it up.
It's not apocalypse next year.
Yeah, James, it's a lot bigger than what people think. It's two of us about 100 yards square. That probably wouldn't even be big enough, Gary, to be honest. Oh, shit. You like that one, do you, Sir Alec?
Babe, we could grow food if we were fit enough to do it. Well, that's number one, because neither of us are fit enough to do it. But if we could grow veg, not a problem. But you wouldn't eat any of it.
No, I wouldn't, because I'm a fucking carnivore. I've grown food for a living. I've worked on the land. I know how much land it takes to produce food, sweetheart. Believe me.
But you wouldn't eat any of it anyway.
No, I know I wouldn't. Karen's just had a lovely Chinese. 100 metres square ain't that big, Gary. That's only 10 metres by 10 metres. Their fucking garden's bigger than that. But anyway, here's a question for you in the chat. What would be your top 3 items if you had to draw up a manifesto for the country? Think about that one. How many pigs can you put on 10 metres? Without actually destroying it, Gary, would you believe no more than 2? Patrick, deport. Yep, that's a good 3, Patrick. I like that. Yes, James, that would be one. The sort out the immigration. In fact, that would probably be one of my top 2. You'd be surprised how much ground they take, Gary. Honestly, mate. Yes, Mrs. W, NHS, social housing and immigration. That's a good 3.
Thank you.
What about the national debt? Nobody's coming up with that one, are they?
Not bothered about that. They can sort out. They said screw the debt for when we went into COVID. They said screw the debt.
Yeah.
We need to keep the country afloat when they put out the furlough pay. It wasn't about how much the bills would be at the end of it.
And do you know what they done with that? That's why the country's in such a fucking mess now, because they borrowed all that money from the bank and nobody's got the money to fucking pay it back.
We know that. So why the fuck are we having to pay it back right this second?
Because if we stop giving it away to other countries, other fucking wars, supporting other cultures, other places around the fucking world other than here, it's never going to get paid off. All they're going to do is keep fucking borrowing.
Right, what was I going to say?
Immigration, deportation, stop the boats. Yep, Jen, that's what Mrs. W just said.
Well, no, that's all the same thing. Stop the boats, stop them coming in and get them out. So that's all about numbers. That doesn't help.
Are you going to let me up on your panel first thing on Friday?
You can have the fucking eye.
Thank you. Yeah, money doesn't exist, Dale. Exactly. All that exists is debt. Money doesn't actually exist. It's worthless. It's just what it represents. It's a debt. You work for a living. If your boss gives you money, that's what he promised you for doing the work. So all he's doing is paying the debt. And you use that debt to pay everything else. I mean, they're still relying and still squeaking on about this fucking Rwanda plan. But I'm fed up of showing how it's not going to work and why it won't work. Even the Rwanda has said it won't fucking work, for crying out loud. Stop the votes. The thing is, our lot are too good-natured, Gary. That's the problem. Now, they've spent millions training Border Force to turn the boats back. But all they're going to do is push it backwards and forwards across the middle of the channel till either we pick them up or the French pick them up. And we know the French ain't going to. The French Navy will only help people once they've asked for it. And the immigrants know this. This is why when they get in the shit, they ring our lot, not the French. Because they know our lot will come and pick them up. Close the borders too. If you don't have a UK passport, then deport. Yeah. Make K pays me a pound every time they move. Yeah, I'm not opening up the panel just yet. God bless. I've only been going half an hour. There's only one that went to Rwanda that I know of, Gary, Dale, sorry. He volunteered to go. All these other deportations that Sunak keeps talking about aren't the ones that have come across the channel. They're the ones that have been here a while, been caught working illegally, overstayed visas and stuff like that. They're the ones that they've been deporting, and not to Rwanda either. Apartments have been built. Yeah, but they haven't got the room for them, Sorality. The Rwanda has said they've only got room for a couple of hundred. So, that's not even a day's worth that when they're coming across. And they're coming across most days when the weather allows. And they're not apartments, they're camps. Most of the apartments they built within view of helping out with this, they've actually sold. And they've sold off to locals and big businessmen over there. So, if you don't believe me, Sorality, check it out. There was a big thing on it a couple of weeks back where they sold a load of them off. Yes, and that is the thing, God bless. As I've said before, it's an exchange program. For each one that we send over there, we've got to agree to take someone from theirs, which is sick, ill, can't look after themselves. And then we've got to pay to look after them in this country, adding more load to the NHS. You can guarantee their family would want to come with them as well. So you send one across and we get 4 back. This is where people go wrong. They don't look into these things that they're telling you they're doing. When you look into them, you see the real cost. You see the real things that are going on. And the one that did go voluntarily that they gave the money to, apparently he's fucked off and disappeared over there. Nobody knows where he's gone. That's because we've been disarmed, isn't it, James? They make a big thing about disarming this country. And they've done it. They did it years and years ago, and they've slowly been creeping in more and more powers to stop even people having weapons legally. There are more weapons coming into this country and that are in the wrong hands than people buy legally and get a license for. You know, I'm not saying we need things like AR-15s and shit like that, like the Americans can have. I mean, personally, I don't think any civilian has got any need for a military-grade weapon. They're far better things for self-defense. They're far better things for hunting. And that is the only two things that you should need anything like that for. You going out for a walk, are you?
Yeah.
All right. Then. You don't know where. I've lived in some bad areas, Gary, believe me. I've lived in some bad areas. Only at the moment, Dale. Keep your eyes on that. But I'm telling you now, only for the moment. They are legal, but they are very, very restricted on what you can do with them. I have gone over this before. The only time that you can legally carry them with you in a car or anything else is if you're taking it to and from a shop to either buy, sell or repair or going to an archery range. If you've got it in your car and you're just going to work, that can be £1,000 fine. And not just for the whole thing. You only have to have part of it in there. Just the bow, the main body, whatever. That is £1,000 fine. It's illegal to shoot live quarry. You're only allowed to shoot targets. So, licensing, be a waste of time, to be honest. Who is it there put slingshots? Yeah, slingshots are probably one of the best survival weapons, I'd call it, that you can have, to be honest. You can just pick up the ammunition for it. You don't need to make anything in particular. And on, over 30 yards, it will work. You can kill quarry with it. I don't know whether that would actually be illegal, Gary, as it's private ground. But there is. I haven't read that distance rule on it. But if there's any possibility of a bolt leaving the premises, which shooting at home there would be, then that would make it illegal also. Not without a specific permit, Desert Fox. Rabbits are classed as rodents, same as foxes, rats. But yeah, there's a lot of people that don't know the restrictions around crossbows. There are people that get shot with crossbows quite regular and have been for quite a few years. It's only that they're not usually in the press. They're not reported in the media. You might get a little bit in a local paper. It's usually some stoked up, pumped up druggie or something that has done it. But because the last few months with everything that's going on, if there is an attack with one or someone gets hit with one, obviously it's well publicised because they want to bring the laws in. Same as we know all the stabbings have been going on. Well, the zombie weapons and machetes and things like that, they've been illegal for well over a year or two now. And be aware, if you do make them at home, that it's actually illegal to produce them and make them as well. Not just buy them, it's illegal to make them. Yeah, Gary, and the squirrels will give you a bite, and you can get quite bad infections from them as well. And the thing is, what most people see as a squirrel in this country isn't our indigenous one anyway. The most prolific one, is the grey squirrel, which is not indigenous to this country. It's been killing off our red squirrel. No, it's not, Gary. It's if you produce any of these weapons, making them, then that is illegal as well. Yeah, you don't see many red squirrels about now, Gary. I think the biggest colonies of them is Scotland, I believe. Battery-powered nail gun. Yeah, it depends how the cartridge is fired, Moo. Because don't forget, anything that can fire a projectile is actually classed as a firearm. Yeah, what it is, Dale, the greys carry some disease or something that kills off the red squirrels. It's been known about for donkey's years. Yes, Jenny, there are quite, Wales, Scotland. There's quite a few down in Cornwall if you're in an area where there's trees, but around the rest of the country, sort of the interior, you'd be lucky to see one. I think you'll find it is Desert Fox. You can be done under the Firearms Act for using one. But funny, they don't mention longbows or anything like that. Which a longbow is just as deadly, just as powerful. In fact, you could probably do over distance more damage with a crossbow and a longbow than you actually could with a shotgun. Definitely do more than you could with an air rifle. Oh, yeah. Fair enough, Desert Fox. I'll take your word for that. Oh, my fucking throat's getting bad tonight. Right, I'm just going to get myself a drink, guys. So I'm just no more. Actually, the gat guns are worth some money now, Gary. They're collector's items. Oh, so they're just interviewing them both separately. They're not having a debate. Well, that's a load of bollocks, isn't it? Oh, she's Stitch in there somewhere. Hi, Stitch. All right, Dale. No worries, mate. No worries. I think Heather's gone out for a walk because I keep telling her to shut up. Where's RoboCat? Let's have a look, see if we can find RoboCat. There she is. And that's about as far as she goes. Doesn't need a chiplet. She's totally inactive. You're going to look at the camera or what? Oi. That's RoboCat. Now I've got fucking wires everywhere, which she will get tangled up in. Yes, Scar, there was a Diana air rifle. They still make them, actually. But they are cheap and nasty now. Free Mrs. W. MP50. I prefer a 42, James. Yes, it's German, but they used to call it the buzzsaw. So we can. Well, that's what I said, Scar. You know, they expected us to chip all these cats in view of tracking them when they're lost, yet they can lose full-size human beings. Yeah, why didn't they chip them exactly? They were given phones so they could be tracked, but they've obviously been them, haven't they? Otherwise, they'd know where they are. Because they used to take all their iPhones off them and give them new ones when they landed, didn't they? But this is what happens when they put them in hotels and, oh, you can go and do what you want when you want. I could do with a memory chip, Gary. So when I do walk into a kitchen, I can remember what the fuck I went out there for. Got several Desert Fox. We've got quite a big local range. That's all we do is range. We don't do any live quarry or shoot any rodents or anything like that. Well, I'm trying to think what the video was called now. Day at the Air Rifle Range, I think, was a video I did a year or two ago from up at the range, which shows both me and Mrs. W shooting with, I think it was 3 different guns. I was using 2 different ones. And she had her best one as well. I know there's no cream eggs out there, Gary. I don't want to go through that again. That big box of them, what was it, 48 of them or something? Yeah, that kind of made me ill. Yes, they have. They've released a lot of them from the camps where they were holding them. Not only that, the ones that were in prison, along with some of our own prisoners, obviously, there's a lot of early releases going on there. But again, that begs the question, what happened to the 4 big super prisons they were starting to build a few years ago? It's another thing that hasn't happened, isn't it? You know? They made all these bloody promises. And the thing is, we're seeing what's happening on the streets now. You know, when you go to the inner cities, it doesn't matter which one, you can't walk about without being harassed by them somewhere, even in the smaller towns. I mean, I'll be honest, I haven't seen that many round here. We have got foreigners round here. You hear them walking about, speaking different languages, but a lot of those have always been here. Yeah, I think wasn't it Yorkshire Rose did one, Gary? Was that a super prison? Starting a petition. But no petitions are getting read now until after the election, Desert Fox. There's a lot of different. Yeah, I mean, we're not that far from Cov, as you know, Scar. We used to shoot at a range over there, funny enough, over that way at one point, which is now closed. But the nearest I used to get to actually going into Coventry years ago was Bedworth. And if you know that area, you know the big problem pub that's used to be around the Bedworth area. And you'll know exactly where I used to be. One of my mates' father was the landlord. He couldn't go up there a weekend without getting in a fight. They're talking a right load of bollocks on that. Oh, I've still got the wind from the other day as well. Yeah, I don't know whether it was her that did it, Gary. But there was one up. I'm sure it was her. It's called the Holy City in the 70s. Yeah, to be honest, I can't see any reason to go to Coventry. I mean, what was it last year? They put it up as the city of culture or something like that. Fuck's sake, God save us on that. Yeah, it is everywhere, James. It is everywhere, mate. I mean, I've been telling a friend of ours for some time what it's like out on the streets now and what have you. Him and his mate have started up riding electric push bikes. He's got a normal looking big framed one. He's a big tall chap. His mate's got the all singing, all dancing, cross country, full suspension, enduro type electric bike. And some moped boys tried to rip him off of it and nick it. And he said, I didn't really think about it, what you said. He said, but now, he said, you were right about staying away from certain areas. I said, well, I told you it was coming, mate. You know, I told you what it's like out there. I see videos and that of it all the time. Yeah, it doesn't matter where you go, Karen. Most towns have got them. I mean, you know, this area, it's not a posh area. I won't say that. But at the moment, English people still outnumber anybody else. Well, I say English people. Obviously, there's a lot of Muslims, shall I say, and there are foreigners that are English. They were born here. They were bred here. You know, this is another thing you got to take into account. Some of them have been here for many, many years. Left on the beach, chips for everything and everyone. Yeah, well, Serenity, it's it's do you want to be tracked? Do you want to have privacy? Or do you want the security of being tracked everywhere? This is the thing, isn't it? Yeah, James, I mean, you know, what was it, a couple of years ago? I think you'd already left up here by then. When the pregnant woman got stabbed up in town here by some nut job. Obviously, King's Standing, places like that, yeah, there's always going to be them. I mean, the fact that Heather's 11-year-old granddaughter, as she was at the time, had to look out the landing window and see a guy laid on the path with a fucking knife sticking out of him. Yeah, it's... Yes, Mrs. W, it was her husband, I believe. Jenny Vorderman. I'm just trying to... they got members of the public asking. At the moment, it's Starmer. It doesn't look like they're actually going to have a debate. It looks like it's basically just an interview. So why they've built it up as this, I don't know. Bows and arrows are quite easy to make if you know how, Gary. It's easy to make, but to make a decent one, you've got to know what you're doing. Otherwise, it can be a waste of time. I mean, I've done fletching, I've done the shaving on them, and still not got it right. On the odd occasion it has, but for a beginner, you'd probably make a dozen before you'd get one usable one out of it. And there ain't many people that could pull back a full strength war bow now anyway. That took a lot of doing. Yeah, Patrick, this is what I keep saying to people. You know, people look at these videos and some of these videos make things look easy. Now, starting a fire with a drill, the wood drill, they make that look easy on there. Well, believe me, it's not. And that can take many hours to get that right before you even get a little bit of tinder going. It's a lot of hard work, and there are techniques to it, but even the experts will tell you it will not work first time straight away. French arrows are probably the easiest ones to make, Moo, yeah. Not as easy as flechettes, but French arrows, yeah. You don't need a bow. Not quite as accurate, but you can get as much distance with them as you can with a bow. But yeah, I mean, all these survival weapons that you see them make, survival techniques, Yeah. Don't buy a lot into it unless you've actually been out there and tried it. You'll see them make a nice little bed and a camp within an hour. In realistic terms, if you ain't eaten, you haven't had a drink of water, that's going to take you more than a day to do that. And the first thing about survival techniques is conserve energy. That's the first thing to learn. It can be a lot easier if you've got the right gear, Patrick. But the easiest one is the stick and your knife. But I mean, I did that in a video as well, and it showed how quickly you can do it because I set light to the table outside by mistake. Ooh. We're at war with the world, Karen. Not going to. We're at war with the world. We're at war with our own government. We're at war with people in our own country. Everybody keeps saying World War III is going to kick off. Well, sorry, World War III has been going on for donkey's years. Rabbit snares, good with practice. If you know how to put them, where to put them, and to set them up, Desert Fox, yeah. But bear in mind, you can't sustain yourself on just rabbit meat. But again, most people would see the runs in the grass and just put the snare down there. That's not where you want them. If you look, you'll see bits of grass that are flattened down, then a bit will be stood up, and then a bit flattened down for a while, and then a bit will be stood up. But what you want is your snare, the width of your palm of your hand, that high off the ground where the grass isn't trampled down, because that's where they jump, and you want them to jump into the snare, not run through it. There you go. There's a little tip for you. And obviously then in this country as well, you've got the things like myxomatosis to worry about and diseases in them. Yeah, it's... Oh, I'd last a lot longer on bacon, Gary. Believe me. Don't forget there's a lot more to a pig than just bacon. But if you look up the facts on rabbits, there's not enough in there to sustain you. Yeah, it hasn't got what the body needs. It keep you going for a while, but not for good. My dad was a gamekeeper, allowed for the ears as run. Yep. But, you know, people set a snare outside a rabbit hole. No, you need them on the run and you need them where they jump. Yeah, I could probably walk maybe 1/4 of a mile if I'm lucky, Karen. That would be it. I wouldn't be leading very far. And the thing is, I'm not like a general. I'm not the sort of person that could lead from the rear, shall we say. Oh, people are going to take that the wrong way now, aren't they? But yeah, this, you know, survival is a lot different to bushcraft and just having fun out there in the woods. Birds are easy to catch. Yeah, but they complain too much when you try to eat them, don't they, Moo? Yes, there is a lot of stuff out there, Jen. Foraging, yes. You know, you do need a balanced diet when you're in those sort of situations. And yes, it's not a good idea to just live on meat, no matter what these diets and that tell you. Don't forget you're living at home when you're on these diets. When you're out in the woods, it's a different matter. Or fence line or Sainsbury's. Yeah, your local butcher might be able to help you out though, Fox. It's real Admiral. Shouldn't that be rear? Oh, you see Mrs. W's back in the background there. And that is a right load of bollocks going on there. Starmer saying he got into politics because he wanted to make a difference. Was that a difference from fucking allowing immigrants to get benefits and that, like the court cases that he fought for? Yeah, righto. Shan't bother watching any more of that. Gary can't spell. Right, how long have we been going now? We've been going an hour. Where are we on that one? Make sure that's the right one. Put that one up there. They're all on the board here. Right, there's the link. If anybody wants to come up on the panel, don't forget, I will be vetting you in the back room if I don't know you. I bet Simon's gone now. Now I've put the link up. Yes, she's back, Missy. She's back. Don't forget, she'll be doing Earth Live on Friday night, as usual. I don't know whether that's the last one or...
No. Got two.
What's the date today then? Oh yeah, you got this Friday and next Friday, and then it's the following one you won't be doing one. Or the Friday after that. So I only missed one, you missed two. Oh, you're using one of them voice things, are you, Karen? Oh, it does a bloody good job. Yeah, I am, Karen, slightly dyslexic, believe it or not. I absolutely denied it for many years. But it's been proved that I am. You know, that's why sometimes I get a bit confused when I'm saying, yeah, she's my spell checker. The way I type things, even spell check can't even get the gist of what I'm fucking doing and what I'm trying to say. Dyslexic. Yeah, what was the old one? Yeah, he went out to buy a warehouse and bought a whorehouse, wasn't it? But no, I don't truck. Oh, see, I can't get my fucking words out at all now, no matter what they are. I struggled for years pronouncing words. I still get them wrong now, as you've seen in many of my videos, but I will get there eventually. Yeah, Chimbley, Big Grundy, Japalmas. But it's usually the easy words that I get wrong. I mean, what was the one I spelt the other day? I actually wrote it. Was it in my notes? Yeah, metaphorically. And I actually spelt it right. Nobody was more shocked than me. Yeah, I'll be honest, Desert Fox, when I first moved up here and me and Ella got together, her mother couldn't understand my accent. Gets a gold star. Yeah, get a tick. With a spirit level in it. Oh no, I never forget my notes. Gary, I'm actually lost without them in that whiteboard now. Although I did put a note on there. In fact, it's on the back of one of these bits of paper about something I was supposed to remember to do and I haven't done it, which was order some wiper blades for the car. So I'll have to do that tomorrow. To be honest, Moo, although I only went to state school, I did leave with quite a good education. But that was only because I enjoyed learning. I never did any homework or anything, and I actually got marked down on my maths exams for not showing the working out. I said, well, I didn't need it. I did it all in my head. But they wanted to see the workings and I didn't do it. So they marked me down for that, although I got all the questions right. I mean, it has got a lot harder lately, last year or two, because of my memory issues. Unless I get a trigger, a word, or see something that will trigger a memory, it's like I'm going through files trying to find the answer to what I'm thinking about or what I want to say. I didn't notice it, but it started quite a few years ago when I had a blood clot on the brain. Heather noticed it and she kept telling me, and I'm like, no, I'm fine. But then I started to stop and think, and yeah, the things weren't coming to me that I wanted to say, and she was right, and the strokes just made things worse. Long-term memory isn't too bad. It's short-term memory or immediate memory. Hence the notes when I'm doing a video, because I can quite easily lose myself with what I'm saying. Yeah, I was in hospital for some time, Karen, with mine. They diagnosed it quite early, but I'd suffered with it for longer than they knew because I'd been complaining of headaches and stuff like that. And it wasn't until I collapsed one day at work, only momentarily, felt like somebody hit me with a fucking baseball bat around the back of the head, that I went and got anything done about it. And the doctors still wouldn't do anything. They just kept giving me painkillers until I went in there one day and one of the older generation lady doctors saw me. She saw the pain I was in and she knew straight away what it was. And the fact that I threw up in the surgery was another good indication. That was the first time I'd thrown up with it as well, which is another symptom of the blood clots, especially in the brain. and she wanted to get me an ambulance there and then. I said, I'll just get a taxi up. It's going to be easier. By the time I'd got literally a mile or so up the road to the hospital for the surgery, they had a bed ready for me and they were rushing me through CTs and all sorts of scans. Even had to get transferred to another hospital for a different type of scan. It wasn't a nice time. I wasn't sleeping. I was in constant pain. But yeah, and I still never got to eat the hospital food because Mrs. W bought me my tea every night in the hospital. Used to call in the mornings to have a ciggy with me before she went to work. She'd call in on the way home from work for have a ciggy with me. And then she'd call back in at visiting times with me tea. Not that he's spoiled. I was then. Pardon me.
Not anymore, no.
And I did get into a bit of trouble while I was in there. I injected myself with Clexane. A little nurse used to come round every day, 6 o'clock, inject me with it in the stomach. And she turned her back one day, so I did it. And the doctor wasn't at all happy with me over that. And they weren't happy with me getting a half a bin bag full of chocolate bars out the vending machines either that the little lad gave me. Apparently the machine had got overheated, so they couldn't sell them because they had all the bits of white fat come up on the chocolate. So rather than throw them out, he knew I was a chocoholic, so he chucked everything in the bin bag and brought it into the ward for me. Nurses loved it. As I said, Karen, there's been a few times over the years. Yeah, no worries, Holly. No worries, darling. Yeah, there's a few times there that I'd have been right in the shit if I'd have been on my own, to be honest. No, I'm actually cutting down on the chocolate, Gary. I said literally an hour or so ago, I said I've put on weight. I don't need to adjust the sides of the combats anymore to keep them up, which usually is a sign that I'm getting to the size where I shouldn't be getting any bigger. And I certainly don't want a box of 48 fucking Cadbury's cream eggs again. So, but no, I'm trying to be good. The next thing that's got to cut right down on within view of giving up is the fizzy drinks. That will be going once that pot has run out of fluid, so I won't be even on those. Doing all right on the no smoking. No scudges. It's got to be injected in the fat. And they use the fat of your stomach when you've got a blood clot. Doesn't need to go into a muscle or anything like that. And it's only a tiny little short needle as well. It's only about a centimetre long because it doesn't need to go that deep into the body. What they normally do is pinch a bit of the fat in the stomach and put it in that. I know I was on it for weeks. It was to, along with other stuff they were putting in me, it was to thin the blood and try and break up the clot because it was too deep. And as they said, the size of it although it was causing me a lot of grief and a lot of pain, it wouldn't have warranted surgery. They'd been able to do it with drugs and shit, which they did. So fair play to them on that one. You might have had it in there for another reason then, Scar. But that's where they put my collecting. And Heather's as well. We don't do the warfarin now, Gary. That's what you actually get now instead of the warfarin is clopidogrel. I used to be on warfarin because I used to have to go in and get my bloods checked every week, obviously for the dosages. But with the warfarin, with the clopidogrel, you don't. You're on it, and that's as far as it goes. But I'm on, with the other blood thinners, I'm on, oh, pardon me, I'm on over 150 mils of blood thinners a day. Most people just take 75 mil. Yes, warfarin was a rat poison, Desert Fox. It didn't really do you any harm in the amounts that you were taking, but yes, it was originally a rat poison. I mean, I was on that for, I think it was 2 years before they switched me over to the clopidogrel, and that dose kind of doubled along with other blood thinners that I'm on since the strokes, and I'm on them lifelong. But what's happening with the polycythemia, I don't quite know. I haven't had the results back from my test yet, or not officially. And I'm up again in 2 weeks, 3 days before we go on holiday, to have my bloods tested again, which will probably mean some more treatment. They'll take more blood out of me, but that won't worry me. Literally because I don't want anything interfering with the holiday, and if I start feeling the symptoms, that will ruin my holiday because it will stop me fishing, and that's why I elected to have that done just before we go away. Yeah, I'm on it permanently, Jen. Not just that one. I'm on 2 others, and I'm also on dispersible aspirin and painkillers when I need them, but touch wood, I haven't needed the painkillers for quite some time now, to be honest. Although I've still got a few boxes there just in case. At the moment, I don't need them. But I don't go anywhere without them just in case. You know, you do get what they call thunderclap headaches if you have got small clots and that. Yeah, mine is very thin, Gary. It means you suffer from a lot of other things. Like if I'm out and it's too warm and sunny, obviously you can overheat a lot quicker because your blood's going round. It's thinner. It warms up quicker. But the reverse also happens when it's too cold because your blood's so thin it retreats to your inner core quicker, which means your extremities get cold quicker and get colder, which is something that I made myself aware of. I mean, the temperature's only, I mean, that's a beautiful evening here at the moment. We've got sun out there. I don't think it's that cold out yet. Sat in here, I got a hoodie on because it feels a bit chilly to me. And it doesn't take much of a change in the temperature for me to notice it. You couldn't take aspirin, neither can I. No, some people can't. Some people are allergic to it, Jen. Some of the things I can't take, which most people can. One, because of the condition and the blood thinners. I can't take antacid tablets like Renes or stuff like that. If I'm in pain, I can't use Nurofen or any of those type painkillers. It's got to be cocodamol or tramadol. Although I don't even know if I can take tramadol now. I've never really tried with anti-inflammatories. I've had antibiotics, but even those had to be run by the doctor.
Inflammatory.
Yeah, well, I can't take them, see.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
Viagra would probably kill me, Desert Fox. But no, there are a lot of drugs I can't take. Oh, yeah. 8 cocodamol a day. That's probably on the limit, Scar.
Oh, yeah.
2-4 times a day. Yeah. And the thing is, they'd lose their potency as well if you take them too regular. Either the dose, you're better off stopping for a while and then going back to them. See, evening loafer. It wouldn't make a lot of difference with me. Yeah, I was on tramadol for quite some time, Jen, especially after I had the blood clot. I got to the point where I used to enjoy it, and I used to take it before I went mountain biking. You know, they say always that to stop the pain. I said, well, no, you don't give a shit about whether you're getting pain or not to start with if you take enough of them. Yeah, exactly, Gary. It's the side effects, and also how it mixes with what else you're taking. What was the other one that made me feel ill? What's the injectable one they give you, the painkiller when you're in an accident? Morphine, that's it. Morphine makes me ill. I can't use morphine. Yes, it does, Desert Fox. It will make you high. But again, some people can't take it. But morphine. Oh, Jesus. I'm falling asleep already. Don't know whether I'm going to make 10 o'clock tonight. The other one, see, totally lost where I was going now. Oh, yeah, I even tried acupuncture. When I fucked my shoulder up, because I've got no joint there, as you can see, just a big lump and a scar where they tried to fix it. Because of the way the muscle was working and everything and the pain I was getting, they said they wanted to give me acupuncture. And I stood that for about 10 minutes and started throwing up. So that had to finish. I wasn't having that anymore. Finish this. I wouldn't take anything like that, Gary. Wouldn't take anything like that. You know, it's nice when you finish to be able to roll over and go to sleep, but that is going to keep you awake and it's going to keep you there all night, isn't it? No, I don't own stilettos either. But yeah, I mean, all these new drugs that are coming out now, they're based on certain things. I can't say what because, as we know, Dan got his stream pulled down for medical misinformation. We don't know what part of it was, but it's something I have discussed before about what all the new shit they're coming out with is based on. And let's just say it's based on something that a lot of people have took over the last few years.
Or maybe.
Allegedly, as they say. Everything they're doing seems to be based around that shit now. I mean, they got this, they're worried about the new bird flu outbreak because one person has died from it in Mexico, which they reported as an unusual novel strain. Why they describe it as that, I don't know. But apparently the Center for Disease Control in America said it doesn't pose a risk to the general population, which is different to what the propaganda will probably say about it. But isn't it funny? Well, all these new viruses they seem to be finding all seem to be connected to animals. I mean, allegedly, although nobody's quite sure, COVID was put down to bats. Before we had the swine flu, now we've got bird flu. Is there any other animal they want to pick on that they can find something to try and frighten people with? Bacon flu. Well, we've had the swine flu, haven't we? Oh, is that because people eat too much bacon? They could bring that one back. I believe anthrax was man-made, Gary. Scar. That was one they made. I don't believe that was anything natural. Yeah, that I've always said that, Karen. Don't eat anything with more than 4 legs and don't sleep anything with more than 2. There was another part of that, but it's part of an old racist joke, so I won't say that. We know what censorship's like now. Yeah, I used to get a lot of trapped nerves, Jen, and at the moment, and I didn't realise that the pain I was getting in my neck and shoulders over the years was actually arthritis. They didn't inform me of this until after I'd had my CT scans for the blood clot. They just happened to mention, oh, by the way, your arthritis is getting a little bit worse.
Yeah, but you didn't even notice you'd broken your skull.
Yeah, that was an absolute beauty that Mrs. W just come up with. I went through a couple of the CT scans and MRIs. Good evening, Brian. Yeah, anthrax is still fair enough. Got that wrong then. But on the CT scans, one of the consultants actually turned around and said, well, yeah, we found a blood clot, but on the up, your fractured skull's healed well. And, this isn't that long ago. Only it was just after me and Heather got together, actually. So it's probably within the last 10 to 12 years. Apparently, I had a bloody great fracture in my skull that I never even knew I had. I'd never been to a doctor's for it. But it was there. And I've actually got a disc down there with my CT scans and MRIs on because I got a copy of them from the hospital, from the X-ray department. And it does clearly show. It shows where the damage is to the skull. and it's quite a big fracture, sort of from there at the back of the skull round to about there. So that could have killed me at any time. Never knew I had it. I was into my 30s before my parents told me that I'd had pleurisy. Up until then, I'd always put no on all the medical forms, but then I was informed no, I had it as a child. Nearly died from it as a youngster. So I had to put that on my records as well. I always thought it was a man-made thing, Brian. Hands up if I've got that wrong. I've got a strong stomach. That the only things I don't eat is because I don't like the taste of them. But
Yeah, you need a strong stomach when you're cooking.
no, I just need good teeth, so I can chew it properly, stop myself getting indigestion. And that's not a knock on your cooking either. You know I enjoy your cooking. That's why I prefer eating it home. You need to go around and sort them out and Gary. But hopefully my throat will start getting a bit better once I stop sucking on this bloody thing.
I'm absolutely certain it's that, because it's making my throat hurt as well.
Yeah, it might be just it's the flavouring, but I ain't even going to try it once this is gone. That's it. Because it was paid for. I'm determined to use it up. What is pleurisy? It's the problem I can remember. You got to bear in mind I was only 3 or 4 at the time, I think it was, they told me. The only thing that I can remember about it, I can remember being in hospital, not knowing why, was the colour of me turds. Funny enough, it's a strange thing to remember about an illness. But they were bright yellow. I've never looked into it. Lungs is pleurisy. Well, that might be where some of my breathing issues come from. Although that I do know most of them as through the fire that time.
The most common cause of pleurisy is a bacterial or viral infection that affects the chest.
Yeah, in the chest. That's what Missy just put,
Yes.
lungs.
Main symptom is a sharp chest pain when you breathe in.
Well, I get that now sometimes. Maybe
You also get that when you've got a blood clot,
Mm.
pulmonary embolism.
Pulmonary embolism.
Fucking hurts.
But yeah, I mean, there's I was born with a hole in my heart as well, so, and a shadow on my lung, one of my lungs. But the hole in the heart seems to have closed itself up over the years. It was still there when I was in my 30s. But when they checked last time, when I went through all the tests with the blood clot and that, they couldn't find it. So, fingers crossed it's healed itself, which they can do apparently. Oh, not Ferrero Rocher. Sir, you're really spoiling us with them. Yeah, there's a little bit of useless information on that, Karen. Milk tray. Remember the adverts with the guy? All because the lady loves milk tray. Well, the guy that actually dived off the cliff in one of the adverts, the stuntman actually broke his back, if I remember rightly, doing that stunt.
Right.
Yeah, right off Desert Fox. They've written me off medically anyway. Simply because of the ME from the strokes. They done all the medical checks, assessment through the authorities and the DWP. They got in touch with me consultants. Basically, I don't have to get signed off anymore. I'm medically written off to the point where one of my consultants actually said it would be dangerous for me to work because of the instant memory loss now and again. There's obviously safety issues. The fact that, with 10 minutes notice, I need to go and sleep or lay down and rest. You only see me now and again on here. Most you'll see me on here will be in the late night streams when I stay on with Dan and that, or last week with Heather on hers. All right, Gary, no worries, mate. Take it easy, buddy. Oh, pardon me. But yeah, that was the reason for my drastic change of way of life, basically. Because yeah, but who doesn't like milk tray, Jen?
Me?
You?
Yeah.
Stepper, good evening, mate.
They're horrible centres.
Oh, the centres, yeah.
They're the worst box of chocolates out there.
Oh, I thought you were going, Gary. Sorry. Oh, you were right off too. See, this is where the dyslexia comes in. I missed the A in that. That I read that as right. I'm off. Sorry, mate. And these are the little things I miss.
But your brain does that for you. It thinks it knows what it's reading.
So it fills in, yeah. There is a word for it, isn't it? Not visual perception. It's something like that.
Yeah. I posted a thing on Facebook and I put money on it. Everybody read it wrong.
Oh, see, James's spelling there. I look at that and I can actually see quality streets. No vodka in there, Gary. I don't drink alcohol, mate. I haven't done for many years. Cause of pussy include bacterial viral infection and can lead to pneumonia. Yeah, I've had bad coughs over the years, Brian, but most of that's due to smoking more than anything. But since I've stopped smoking, I don't cough anywhere near as much. In fact, hardly at all, unless I'm using one of these, and that's why this is going to go. But I actually got a good night's sleep the other night and had to lay in the morning as well. No, I'm convinced I've had pneumonia, Karen, but I've never done anything about it. To me, it was just a bad cold, real bad cold and a cough. Because for many years, I don't take the flu jab. I never have done. I used to get bad flu or a real bad cold once a year. It used to knock me for 6 for about a week, but I'd worked through it. I wasn't one of these man flu. I need to lay in bed. But the one I had just before the pandemic or alleged pandemic hit, that was a bad one. And that's why I'm convinced I actually had COVID. Because I had like a bad flu. This was 2019, wasn't it? It was just before it all came out.
It was 2 months before the toilet roll problem.
There you go. And that knocked me about for about 3-4 weeks, which was very unusual. But I've always said I've got or had or what is called Schrodinger's COVID. I've never been tested for it, so therefore I could have it or I might not have it. Hence Schrodinger's COVID. Because unless I actually tested, I don't know. I've got it and I haven't got it at the same time. Yeah, I think there was more of it about Gary than they let on back then, but they realised that's all it was. We know what's come out since. It looks like they're clamping down on censorship again, on people talking about it. They still keep bleating on about medical misinformation. I don't put out medical information. I only put out facts. But it's how you put those facts out there, apparently, that disturbs them. Facebook is doing heavily censored spots on that now, going around it, although they're not actually deleting stuff. They're just putting in the fact checkers, which I love arguing with anyway.
You are the fact checker.
You know, well, the thing is, a fact checker is just someone giving their opinion, you know, or giving somebody else's opinion. No, I'm not, Karen. When the cat bit me and I got an infected thumb, yes, I did need the old jabby, the tetanus. Thank you. But I made the nurse show me the file it was coming out of, so I could actually see what was in it and what was written on it, because that was after lockdown. And if I had anything else in that on that file, I'd have said no, just keep giving me the pills. The opposite sex information. Well, we don't actually. Apparently, it was for misinformation, Gary, but we don't know what part of it. There was a lot of medical stuff talked about that night from people outside the country as well. But the thing is, when you got somebody chatting either on a panel or in the chat, yes, you can delete a comment, but the censors would have already seen it. They can go back and look as well as anybody else and see what was said. And you know what it's like trying to get information out of YouTube. It's like trying to get a blood out of fucking stone, because they're always right according to them. Everybody's guilty until proved innocent. Not the other way round with YouTube. And it doesn't matter what sort of complaint has gone in, they will pull something down just because somebody's offended or somebody has said, oh, that's wrong. They don't look into the facts. They just pull you straight down. And then you've got to find the information. You've got to prove that you're right to get anything reinstated. And 9 times out of 10, even that don't fucking work with them. And this is why I call them openly the faceless cowards. You know, a bottle picks something up, like today, my video today. I don't quite know why they'd find anything wrong in it. But the checks took a lot longer. And to me, that always smacks of, all of a sudden it pops up, the checks are taking longer than usual. So it means the bots pick something up that they want to check out manually, because that doesn't usually happen. It only seems to take longer when I've talked about something that's a little bit sensitive. And in today's, I don't think I talked about much that was that sensitive, to be honest. fact,
Yeah,
I didn't even do that much swearing in today's video. So. Yeah, but they've turned into the thought police, haven't they, Gary? That's the issue. They're using, and I openly said this. I had a thing. What was it through? No, that was through Facebook. Yeah, no, it wasn't that, Gary. Wasn't that, Gary? You got 30 days grace on that anyway. But I will categorically state now that I will not be fucking lowjacking my cat. So whoever's listening, you want to report that, go fucking ahead. Do it. I don't give a shit. It was on Facebook. I had one of these banners put up over a video or something I'd posted. And I got a message from them explaining absolutely fuck all, basically. But there was quite a big space on there for you to have your say. And I accused them of over-censoring, that they've been given great powers with the new online safety bill, but they're not using them properly. I even put in there how they're not using them properly and using them for what they were mainly designed for. But I haven't heard anything back from them. As usual, they probably just ignored it. I went into the fact that you will pull somebody down for saying a hurty word, but if there's somebody out there that's actually hurting people, driving people to even consider doing away with themselves or anything like that, they do fuck all about those. Now, they're the sites and profiles that they should be taking down, but they don't. You can throw in a complaint and you'll be lucky if it even gets heard. It's an absolute lottery with them. What can you do with a Verazori swordback? Well, the only problems I've had with my back usually are only muscular.
I was going to say it depends what it is, because a good massage can help if it's muscular, or a chiropractor if it's worse than that.
The worst back pain I've had was actually given to me by a fucking doctor, because I had to have a spinal tap when I had the blood clots and what have you. One of the tests for it obviously was spinal fluid. And the only way they could do that was by tapping your spine with a fucking needle in the middle of your back and drain some off. And that is probably one of the most painful things I've ever had to do with my back. They did give me an epidural. It didn't do any fucking good, other than it kept me in bed and stopped me wandering off and going having a ciggy because I couldn't walk. But that was very painful and very uncomfortable for a few days afterwards as well. You know, I did look at the needle they were using, and it was fucking huge. I mean, I did ask if they could knock me out and do it, but for some reason they wouldn't. Straight across my back, no, I don't. If it's across your back rather than up and down, Karen, I wouldn't know. That most of the muscles in your back go up and down rather than across. And that is something I did used to pull regularly and still do. At the moment, most of mine is because I don't move about a lot now. I'm not very energetic at all anymore. Not that I was to start with. and I've only got to move the wrong way and something will ping in there. But that's probably down to age a bit as well. Trying to do stuff I shouldn't be doing.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, the base of my spine, I've always had issues with, Gary. I did query it with the doctors a long time ago, and it was because I had compression of the spine after rolling so many cars over the years on the racetracks. It kind of fucked my back up. Yeah, it's easy done, Karen. You know yourself. You've only got to bend over the wrong way, pick something up the wrong way. And it don't take much to strain a muscle or pull a muscle. But it will give you pain for fucking weeks. Yeah, it could be, James. It could be, mate. But I know they wouldn't knock me out. I did ask and they just wouldn't do it. Yeah, that's muscular. If it's only one side, then Karen, it's got to be. Got to be on the same. Heather's the same. She can only sleep better on one side than the other, and I'm the same. And age, yes, does come into it. But my problem was connected to that as well, was I'd struggle to breathe if I was laid on one side. I could breathe better laid on the other side, and I can breathe a lot better if I'm laid flat on my back. Well, not flat on my back, propped up, but yeah, so you're a lot younger than me, Karen. You're not old. 51 isn't old. I was at 55. I was still throwing myself down mountains on a fucking mountain bike. Maybe that's what's done a lot of the damage. Yeah, it is. The only thing, as Jen put there, is rest up, let it heal, keep it warm.
Nice long baths.
Warm, yeah, nice long warm soaks in the bath. If you're resting up and just laid about, maybe even put a hot water bottle underneath it. I used to find that helped. I had my own built-in hot water bottle because Mrs. W's hands were always lovely and warm, and all she used to have to do when I was laid in bed was put her hands on my back, and that kind of eased it.
Well, the fact that I'm a healer helps.
Oh, I could show you some things that need healing, but you won't like the way it needs doing. Can't get into the bath. With a hot water bottle, Karen. When you're sat in a chair or laid in bed, just put a hot water bottle behind you over the area. It doesn't need to be absolutely hot as long as there's a bit of warmth in there.
I can't get in and out of the bath anymore, but I will stand for as long as I can with warm water on my back when I've got back issues, because it's the warmth that helps.
With the shower, it massages as well. Yeah, don't try and do it. You've literally got to rest it. That's the only thing with a bad back. No, that is genuine, Gary. That is honest, and the same works the other way. She used to call me a little hot water bottle.
Yeah, that's because you cuddle up, and I'm too bloody hot and I can't sleep.
Yeah, an electric blanket, just as good. Deep heat, yeah. We used to use a thing called horse liniment back in the day. That stank. But deep heat and these rub-on cures for aching joints and that's another thing I can't use.
9 times out of 10, though, you need somebody else to get into that spot.
She's done her down. She sleeps alone. Yeah, a warm towel, anything like that. Heat is always helps with healing. Funny enough, I don't know why. Yeah, you're not going to
Magic?
go and stand in the middle of a fire or anything. But
Magic?
Eh?
Magic.
magic. I keep getting fucking messages here. I don't know where they're coming from. What's that's Friday. Oh, no, I'm getting messages and shit.
Listen, both of them can be paid for if you can afford it.
Sorry, I wasn't.
The man and the massage.
Well, yeah. Ice pack in the summer. Yeah, for swelling, Gary, the ice more or less has a numbing effect. It doesn't help with the pain, it just masks it. Go to us, so honestly, Karen, in the summer, I do. I'm terrible for sweating, especially the night sweats. I mean, I'll wake up early in the morning and my pillow's just soaking. But I've had that happen in the middle of the winter as well. So, oh, good evening, Panda. Yeah, Fluffy Bunny's live again.
Hello, gorgeous.
Once put an ice pack in my pants, never again. Yeah, there is another one, Gary. That green liven you up fucking shower gel. I can't remember what it's called.
Tea tree mint.
Yeah, that's the one. That doesn't go down too well using it in the nether regions either, as I found out. It was nice to see on your Facebook profile that you've actually been relaxing a bit, Craig. I'm glad to see that, mate. Because I know what you've been through. You know, I've been there. And overstretching yourself doesn't do you a lot of good. And funny enough, it's something that isn't discussed around strokes. And a lot of people don't realise, but it can play havoc with your fucking emotions as well. It affects different people in different ways.
Oh, excuse me.
Go on in, Panda. Who you having a drink with on Saturday? Who? Tell me. It's obviously
Rhino?
somebody I know.
Rhino?
Well, he says Rhino quite regular, doesn't he? Got to wait for the delay now. No, he wouldn't know.
Rhino.
Right, here's Rhino. Okay. That's my two best mates down there in Cornwall. Say hi to him for me, mate. Mealy Man snores. I should do a lot of work for Mealy, Karen. Unless that's just a misspelling there, but there is a German company called Mealy. Jenny Ford. Yeah, no worries, mate. As long as it's not too late. You
I
did
think
say,
Helen's saying my man snores, not Neely.
but yes, Saturday I'll be about. Probably be in and out during the day. Oh, it's this voice thing. No worries, Karen. No, we just used to. We was actually on the landscaping. We used to look after some of their grounds. The last time I was there was when they totally fucked up with the air miles. People were going in and buying a Hoover and getting enough air miles to fly off to America, which they obviously had to pay for. But we did. I've actually got a picture of it in the album somewhere. We did actually once a year used to cut a bloody great big hedge all around one of their properties. We used to have a cherry picker up there, and I've got a photo of the old battered Land Rover that we had with a cherry picker on the top. It's one we used to use for a bit of tree surgery as well, and after dropping several trees on the thing, we did class it and registered it as an agricultural vehicle because it got used only a couple of times a year, which meant you got away with real cheap insurance. You didn't have to tax it. It didn't have to be MOT'd. I mean, the steering on it was abysmal. You know, that there was about 4 inches of slack on the steering wheel before the front wheels moved anywhere. And with this fucking great cherry picker on the back and the extra weight, it would be all over the road. It was absolutely lethal. But other than hiring one, it was the only thing we had that we couldn't get up high enough into this hedge to cut it. It sounds like a wife. Craig, that's not nice, mate. Yeah, she's slowly building her channel up there, Karen. It's she's doing really, really well on it. Like I say, she doesn't do videos at the moment. But
Yes.
I am. We are. I say I am. We are taking an extra tripod with us on holiday, so she can set a camera up or a phone if she wants to. She does have I believe you've got a spare phone there that will just record, haven't you? That you can just use on a camera, so you don't have to use your one.
I use my phone because it's the one with the card in.
I can put a card in the other one for you. I've got spare SD cards here.
Yeah, okay.
I've got some 64 gig ones as spares. But we are taking 2 tripods this year, being as I've got some extra ones now that I had given to me. All Manfrotto as well. Although these ones aren't carbon, but pardon me, but they're not cheap ones. I've been lucky again being in the right place at the right time when these things are being thrown about.
Knowing the right people.
And knowing the right people, yes, exactly. That's more to the point. But oh, here we go. Apparently, Sunak blames the strikes for the high waiting list, the fact that they were there before the strikes even started.
But he said that all along.
He blames everything on either the pandemic, the war between Russia and the Ukraine, or the union. He can't take the blame for anything himself.
COVID started it, and the doctors striking just exacerbated it.
Yeah,
Big word,
but they
exacerbated it.
But they keep using it as an excuse
Yeah.
now. It's getting fucking ridiculous.
Well, I can't stand it.
And him saying sorry all the time, it's like I got with the police. It just doesn't compute with me anymore. My brain filters it out. We've heard him say it so many fucking times. Is Mrs. W doing OnlyFans? She probably could actually, but I'll say no more on that.
I'll just say no on that.
Yeah, you heard her answer on that. I'm not even allowed to take any videos of antics like that for private use, let alone to put out in the public. And you can think about it, you'd only have to pay fucking tax on it anyway, wouldn't you?
I'd have to declare it, wouldn't I?
Yeah. Yeah, you've got to declare your earnings even from YouTube videos now if you're monetized. They've even not blocked yet. It's your tripod. Well, I've actually got 3 good ones now, Craig. I mean, if you saw the pieces of shit I was using before. But I got given a nice carbon one, which is a very expensive one with the video in head fluid, dampened head on it. That's probably the best part of £1,000 worth. And the other ones aren't cheap either, although they're alloy. One of them has got, I checked out the price of the head on it, and the second hand one of them was going for 90 quid. So God knows what they are new. You were further, I won't. Well, to be honest, Craig, if I had to pay for them, I wouldn't have them, mate. I wouldn't have them because I would just not pay that amount for something like that. Being a cheapskate. But it's nice that people turn around and say, you know, would you like these for your video in and that? And it does make it easier when we're on holiday on a windy beach to get the cameras to stand up right properly, because the cheap ones would just be on their side. These ones, they're like a rock. Makes males feel inadequate. Oh, that's never something I've been told, Craig. James, the ones I've been using up until I got that Manfrotto were these £10 little alloy things off of eBay. They're absolutely fucking useless. Absolutely useless. You fart, they'd fall over.
Your dad's didn't.
Oh no, that thing of your dad's, fuck me, that's solid steel, that is.
It didn't blow over.
I'm sure it was made in a foundry rather than a fucking video shop or something. And that is, I won't take it on holiday because it's just too heavy, but I've still got it upstairs. Oh, this is nothing, Craig. You hear what we talk about sometimes on a Sunday night when Dan does a live. That does dip into the realms of depravity sometimes. But as they say, a bad workman only blames his equipment, doesn't he? So I shouldn't have any blaming to do because I've got good equipment. I'm talking photography here before you want to go down that route. Mind you, I've never had any complaints about that either, but there you go. I've always had the answer to that one. If someone said, well, who the hell are you going to please with that? I said, well, I've been happy with it for 60 plus years. My tools are fucked. How many you got then, Gary? I always do, Craig. I always do, mate. It gets past that watershed hour, 9 o'clock, and that's usually when the brain clicks in. To be honest, Gary, I got to go and look at my tools because they're probably rusty.
This is the best part of this debate. People's comments at the end of it.
What on that?
Yeah, I came here liking Starmer, but I thought Sunak was great, but I'm not gonna vote for either of them now.
Oh, I might have to go and watch a replay of this tomorrow. there was one bloke on there said that I voted Conservative at the last election, but with the brainwashing that's been coming out from them lately, he said I won't be voting for them this time. Oh, so maybe they are getting some honest answers.
And the guy before said he wouldn't vote for either of them. So I think all they've done is show themselves up to be complete and utter twats. They're going to vote for somebody that goes around jumping in the water.
I should go back because it'll have the
Oh,
subtitles on it and that. Anyway, I'm missing chat here. Where we are. That's 12 inches and speaks French.
That's moi. That's French for me.
Moi. Okay. See, there you go. That's where me reading lets me down.
No, that's where your
Watch
language
the
is let you
AI
down, 'cause
driverless.
you don't speak French.
Gary, believe it or not, there are videos out there. They did actually develop one. And on the press day, when they released it to the press at Silverstone, they had it at the start of the straight. The thing went for about 20 yards forwards and then just instantly turned right and drove itself into the wall. But there are AI motorbikes, robot motorbikes that are quite capable of that can drive themselves. Obviously, we got driverless cars, but taking the human element out of it, I think it's dangerous. I mean, there was a traffic jam in one city in America. Where was it? I don't think it was Detroit. It was one of these cities where they've got the actual driverless taxis, driverless cars. And there was an accident at a junction. And because all the signposts meant you couldn't turn around, you couldn't drive against traffic, obviously. They won't do it, these things. They're pre-programmed. So all the driverless cars and taxis that kept pulling up were just sat there. They couldn't do nothing with them because they wouldn't turn around and break any traffic laws. I have heard that somebody totally confused one, whether it's a self-driving, 100% self-driving one or just one of these driver-assisted, but they actually put a white line around it, which in certain states or whatever, you can't cross. And the car refused to move because no matter where it looked, it could see this white line. So it wouldn't go. So there you go. If the police end up using driverless cars to chase people, just make sure you've got a can of paint with you to draw a white line on the road. It won't cross it. But I would never trust one. I don't trust AI. I've always said, even computers are programmed by a human being. So technically, there could be that human element in there, being as a human's programmed it. But autonomous AI, no. There's someone put in the chat up there, Karen. Sorry, I wasn't watching the chat. The Terminator scenario. What can happen if a computer becomes self-aware? And don't forget, most production in, well, a lot of countries around the world now is done by computer and machines. They've slowly taken out the human element in production. And I've seen that myself. I was working at British Leyland when they first started bringing robots in to build the cars. And I saw what that did. Yet they seem hell-bent on using robots and AI in all walks of life. and then complain that people aren't taking any jobs. Well, think about it. These machines, AI, computers, no matter where they are on a production line, they're taking over from a human being. Eventually, if they got enough of them that can do enough of the jobs and they become clever enough to do a lot of the jobs, basically, well, they'll do away with human employment. Then they've got no use for us, have they? Yes, Gary, I mean, we're human robots, or most people are, because they listen to idiots like the government and people like that are giving them instructions. They're not questioning it. They're just blindly following to doing what they're told, which is exactly the same as what a robot does, programmed. And this is why I've always said about the education system the way it is now. The way the education system is now, it's designed to turn out people that will listen and do what they're told rather than question everything. Because it teaches you that you're told everything you need to know. So you shouldn't need to question anything. I say question everything. Because this is why we're getting a lot of the, how can I put it, issues now with human beings is because they blindly followed what they were told. They followed the science, even though the science was proved to be wrong in a lot of cases. Yeah, if the world's run by computers, they've got no need, have they, for human beings? All they need is the people to maintain the computers. And if a computer becomes clever enough and self-aware, it can even do that for itself. No, I don't stuff a start. I question everything. And the only professional person I've come across that has actually told me it's good to question even their decisions was one of my consultants, my hematology consultant. She said, absolutely, you have to question everything. Yeah, that's how I found out a lot of things up from the medical, because she openly said and asked me when I first went in with this issue, had I taken a certain procedure? I said, no, I haven't. She said, well, why didn't you? I said, because I'd done a lot of research. I didn't believe what they were telling me. I didn't believe it would do what they said it would do. So I elected not to take it, even though I had underlying conditions. And she actually said openly that that was absolutely the right decision with the issues that have arisen since, which were probably there all along anyway. So she's always said, question everything. I question everything they're putting in me. I even question why they're taking it out of me when I have my treatment. It's something a lot of people have forgotten to do. They just blindly follow what they're told. Is there something you're not telling us? No, I'm quite open about things, Missy. If people ask me, I'm quite happy to answer the questions up to a point. Medically wise, I've never hidden anything that I've got or I've had. The only things that were ever hidden were things I never knew about. And this is why one of the things that I was questioning my consultant about, because a lot of the problems I've had from even back in the blood clot days and further back than that could be attributed to the polycythemia. which I have now been diagnosed with, or was a couple of years ago. That could have been there for years, as they've told me, and the symptoms of that could have caused the blood clot, but that was part of the symptoms. They could have caused my strokes. Again, that was part of the symptoms. The only thing that it didn't contribute to is the fact that I fucked up my shoulder totally, and that was down to me being an arse on a mountain bike. Oh, you're talking to Jenny. Sorry, Missy. Scarges, would you trust a robot surgeon? No, I wouldn't. Absolutely wouldn't. Main reason being, if it made a mistake, who'd you sue? If a surgeon makes a mistake, you've got a person you can sue. Same as I've always said, accidents with these driverless cars. In an accident, who did the insurance company go after? The designer of the car, the programmer of the car itself, because there's no driver in charge of it. So basically, there's nobody to hold responsible. I was fighting the gangs. No. I mean, Heather will tell you, Mrs. W will tell you, I hate trusting this computer. I hate trusting computers. You know, you can't see what's going on in the background unless you're very, very clever.
Being hacked.
Being hacked. I'm always paranoid about being hacked, and I will admit to that, because simply the thing does something on its own that I haven't asked it to do. It's something I haven't seen before. So, you know, that worries me.
It's something I've done. And I tell him it's something I've done. And he still thinks he's being hacked.
You know, maybe I was late coming into computers and using tech. I've always said that. You know, even people my age, when it started to come out, were using it and getting used to it. And I totally rejected it for many, many years. Many years. I have got pretty good security on this one, Gary. But it doesn't matter how good a security you got on a computer. I mean, you've only got to look at the way they've been hacking into the NHS, banks, military even. All right, the military, they didn't get any real critical systems that they got into. But they did have that problem in America a few years ago. And it was by a young English lad, I believe, if I remember rightly. Well, I say English, he was Scottish, I think.
You are not going to get hacked if you don't have any information on there that they want.
Well, there isn't. I don't do any banking or transactions on here.
You've got no bloody money anyway.
Well, yeah, there is that. But the same with my phones. There's only one that connects to Wi-Fi, and that only connects to Wi-Fi when I'm in the house. When I walk out the house, I walk away from Wi-Fi. It doesn't follow me. It doesn't track me.
It's amazing how far the Wi-Fi reaches.
Lurking. Please don't reply. It ruins everything. Evening, Steve. Well, I'm only going to be on for about another half an hour anyway. I've been feeling tired all evening. I did try to get a bit of kip this afternoon, but that was rudely interrupted by a certain feline who was now, this is how old she is. Let me swap the cameras over again a minute. I mean, look at the state of that. Fast asleep. Regularly, she'll fall asleep like that and she slides off that arm and ends up on the floor down there. but she won't go to bed. She won't go and lay down on the bed or anything like that until I go up. Occasionally she'll go up with Mrs. W. But if I'm sat down here, which I've done several times with Dan till 2, 3, even 4 in the morning, she will not leave my side there until I get up to go to bed.
She likes to come and join me in the morning, though, doesn't she?
Oh, that's only because I keep telling her to fuck off because she's bothering me.
Is that what it is?
Oh, here we go. Look, it's moved. Have you woken up or are you just
You
dreaming?
pointed a camera at her. You know she gets camera shy.
But she'll do that. She'll lay on my lap and I'll look down and all of a sudden the head's dangling off the side and the legs are giving it this where she's dreaming. It's quite funny at times. But we do need to clip your claws, don't we? Because when you start thrashing about, you're causing a little bit of pain lately. Velcro cat, I call her when she gets to that stage. Never stay logged into account on your phone. Prevention is the key. Yeah, well, I've only got old Android ones, James, as I've said many times. They're old Samsung S5s. I never have any GPS apps on them. The only way they can literally track them is to within the nearest probably 100 yards or whatever between towers, pinging them off the towers. Well, I recognise that face anyway, so I don't need to ask him. Good evening, Stephen.
Hello, Roger. How are you?
Just tired, mate. Just tired. My eyes are holding up at the moment. They are
Yeah.
starting to water a bit, but
I got a bit of that feeling from you a few minutes ago. So I thought, well, at least there's someone feeling like I'm feeling. Maybe I will come on the stream. Yeah. It's not going to be much of an ask for the energy wise, is it?
No, it's sometimes
life,
I get up in the mornings.
Don't talk to me about life.
And I'm full of energy when I get up in the mornings, but I know if I do anything energetic for 5 minutes, it's going to screw me up for the rest of the day.
Roger, but I have to mute the first part of your video because it goes.
Oh, the cockerel.
And that's, I was just going to say, that's just a bit much first thing in the morning. It's just a bit much.
I don't know what. I just found that one day and I thought, well, yeah, because it's wake up, we got shit to do. I thought, yeah, I got to put that in somewhere, you know.
Do you know, it's been a source of guilt for me for about 4 years now, or 3 years, ever since I started listening to you. Wake up, we got shit to do. I'm thinking, oh no, Roger's up going, and Roger's got more problems than I have. He's got bloody strokes. If you can remember, I'm not sure if you remember if you've had strokes. If you had strokes, maybe you can't remember you had strokes.
Yeah,
but it's like getting up and he's keeping account of world affairs accurately. I'm watching it, trying not to drown on my own saliva.
It does get you, mate, when because you've got to look at the stories to get the stories. As I've always said, you know, I'll watch some mainstream media, I'll see what the main headlines are, and then I go away and look at them stories from other sources. Oh, yeah, that doesn't match what they're saying. That's a load of bollocks. You know, there's half a dozen saying this thing with the proof. They're saying something different. So you've got to do a lot more around the story.
Yeah. Is it reading between the lines, Roger?
Yeah. And also now with the way the censorship goes, you've got to be careful how you put it out as well.
Yeah.
You know,
because you'll get strike for anything.
Yeah, I mean,
like you've had recently.
Same as the police use the term, you're causing harassment, you're causing people.
Stop resisting.
You can do the same verbally over the internet, but they'll only pull down the ones that do it, that cover stuff like I do.
It's targeted, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I don't put anything out to deliberately cause offence. Well, unless I'm talking to YouTube.
That's
or
not the way it
Facebook.
looks from here, Rog. Just kidding. Just kidding.
And that's why I
Sorry.
always make a joke about calling out the politicians using nicknames and shit like that. Yes, I am getting it across. I might use a nickname, but people that know me know who I'm talking about, because a lot of the politicians, I give my own nicknames. I don't use the ones that are in general circulation. Roland, that's a common one. Everybody's been using that for a couple of years now. But, the rat. Well, I always call Chris Whitty the rat because that's what he looks like.
Well, didn't he look like this?
Yeah, and he always looks like he's got his shirts are 4 sizes too big and he's got this little head poking out the neck and the tide with the knot that's like 5 inches away from his throat.
Well,
So I called him the rat.
Is this just not more like a meta propaganda? It's like they I hate to use the word roll out, but they rolled out Chris Whitty, and he's like, yeah, all this shit's gonna be done. It's like they're like feeding us conspiracy heads. Like
Javid.
He's got to be one of them, isn't he?
Sanjay Javid or whatever. I used to call him Jabbit or Javid. Because
I
that's
remember
all he used to do. You've got to get jabbed. You've got to get jabbed. So I called him Jabbit all. Khan, I call him the dictator. Dictator Khan.
Mind you, on more positive recent history, talking of not to make a connection, but Hamza Yusuf. Wait,
Useless. Yeah.
wait, Hamza useless.
Useless, humless.
You got Hamza useless and Sadiq can't.
Yeah, I just call Khan the dictator of London.
I think I prefer the way you said can't. I prefer to hear it the way I heard
I
can't.
do. That isn't dyslexia.
What a can't!
It's
The can't if ever I saw one.
That's not dyslexia. That's me starting to say a word and then remembering I shouldn't say that. But
We're all trying to forget to remember that.
Hancock the fraudster. Always called him the fraudster.
Fraudster. Fraudster. That's like
just
calling Jack the Ripper a petty criminal.
Yeah.
It's always a fraudster. Oh, that Matt Hancock. Oh, he's a cheeky. He did some fraudulent stuff. Fraudulent stuff. Did you see him? Matt Hancock.
Yeah.
I mean, like giving a lot of Windows lamb to a lot of people. Sorry, Roger. Didn't mean to give you a strike there.
Post office thing as well, weren't we? As well. A lot of crocodile tears. Sunak's always coming out with it.
Really, Sunak was doing a bit of the old fake lacrimosal stuff.
I mean,
not Rishi. No.
I think he.
God, so much faith in him.
I think he nailed.
Come on, Rishi, turn it around.
Nailed his coffin shut with what he did on the Normandy services. I think that's what absolutely nailed the coffin on him.
Is the consensus that he's just doing what he's told anyway? It's not really that he's doing it.
No, but I mean, if
the raise of the eyebrows said it all I need to hear.
They've done it when not just him, all of them. When they turn up on the Armistice Day celebrations or Remembrance Sunday, they stand there in front of that cenotaph, thanking all these people that gave their lives for this country, and not just from this country. As we know, there's a lot of people from other countries that also gave their lives for our freedoms. And they stand there and say their remembrance speeches and all this bullshit, while actively taking away what those people died to give us. And they're nothing but fucking hypocrites when they do that. Absolutely disgusting. It annoys me. That's one of the things, my videos I used to do every year. I didn't do one this year because I couldn't physically get up to the memorial we've got in town.
If it was
But
a nice thing, if it was a nice thing, you'd call it irony. Isn't it ironic that he's
Yeah, but
standing
there's
up there
nothing nice
saying,
about it with
"Hey
what they've
guys,"
done.
while he's trampling on what, as you quite rightly say, people have shed
Yeah.
blood for.
I mean, he's done the U-turn now. What was it? A few days ago. Oh, we're going to do more to support the veterans. We're going to look after the veterans more. Why haven't you done it before? If you knew it needed doing, we've been crying about it and screaming about it long enough. Why haven't you done it before? Why are you doing it now?
If it was such a, if it was begging on his patience so long, it's only just come to light now. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna let it out now, you guys. I really feel for the veterans." You know what I'm saying? Oh,
Yeah, it's no. He's got to go. And to be honest, I think, and I'll be honest when I say this, there are better people in the Tory party that could take command. Whether they do a better job or not, I don't know, but they've got better morals than he has. And
well,
I don't think.
do you know what? I feel slightly like I'm going to patronise you by saying you don't honestly, because I'm sure you don't. You don't believe any of it's real.
Oh, I don't believe any of them with what they say now, with the way they've got.
But it's when I hear you say like, "Oh, Rishi's doing this" or "Someone's doing that." It's like they're not, are they? It's just they woke up that day and some dark overlord reminded them of what they've done in the past and gave them their
This is
orders.
the thing with him. A lot of it, and the way he puts it, and a lot of the party have said it about him, he will listen to them, he will talk to them. But at the end of the day, he ignores most of what they tell him to do or say this would be better for the party, and he does something completely different. And because they're loyal to him and loyal to the party, they back him. Well, that's why he's losing a lot of the backing now. I mean, you look at what Lawrence Fox did the other day. Have you heard about that one? The bribes, basically.
What new news about Lawrence Fox?
Well, you know, he's got his own little party, Reclaim or whatever it's fucking called.
Yeah, Reclaim UK or something.
Well, he put an open thing out to all MPs and politicians, those of note, shall I say. If you follow two things that I want to do, that I will put in my manifesto, if you will fight for those, even though in your party, I will donate £5,000 to your campaign.
Where do I sign?
So basically, he's bribing people from other parties to adopt, if they're not saying the same thing, adopt what he's saying.
Is it this business a bit like when someone was saying about, you know, Jeff Taylor? Hello there.
Yeah, yeah, I know Jeff. Yeah.
He seems sorry. Stitches taking them. What? 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 Sorry.
That's right.
Not at all. I was just saying that Jeff Taylor was talking about splitting the vote. I'm not like yourself. I'm not a political person, but I've had to be over the last. Had to catch up.
Yep. I mean, the first time I ever voted, and I've always said it, the first time I voted ever in my life, and it's the only time up until lately, was for Boris, because I wanted us to take control back of our country away from Europe. And that was the first time I've ever voted in my life.
Do you think, Roger? I'm kind of doomering a bit now, but it's under the umbrella of hopium, injecting a bit of that hopium into my veins. But it's if when we talk about regaining the country, who are we going to be regaining? And if
not
even
regaining the country, regaining control of the country.
But even if we, I'm sorry to go. It was just I was kind of I've been thinking about it for a while. It's like a semi-formed thought. I've had a semi-formed thought. Oh my God, it's a miracle.
Well, think of the reason why we haven't been deporting a lot of these illegals.
Well, what I mean, Roger, is that if all of us, I mean, especially God bless UK, he's kind of he's got that not attitude. He's that mentality. He's if everybody who thought like we do got together and just conglomerated, how much of us would there really be anyway?
Well, I said this in today's video, didn't I? You look over Dave Myers, the hairy biker that died of cancer. Now,
What?
they had a ride out for him the weekend, okay, to his hometown of Barrow up in Cumbria. Now, they had over 46,000 people riding motorbikes up the full length, more or less, of the country, from London to Cumbria. Now, you tell me where there's a protest that they've got anywhere near that amount of people in.
Yeah.
And there were people on that run from all races, all creeds, all colours. The combination of the fact that they all rode or loved motorcycles
And good food.
brought them together.
Yeah.
Heather says good food as well, but a lot of them were there because he was a biker. He was a motorcyclist.
You're talking about the blonde one then?
Yes.
Oh, I never knew. I never knew he passed.
Yeah, he passed cancer.
That was the dark-haired one.
Dark-haired one.
With
Size the blonde one.
I knew the thank you, Mrs. W. I knew the Simon. No. He called the other guy Si.
Yeah.
I knew he had contracted cancer, but I didn't hear the.
It was Dave
he
Myers.
was all right.
He died from it
earlier this year,
and it was a memorial ride for him. But it just shows that it doesn't matter what background you come from. If you've got the love of one thing and you all get together, that's the size of the group you can put together.
Like as I was trying to say, like how many of us? It's like my lot are all Irish actually. So it's not like I can really say that I'm a Brit or an English person or something, but it's this part of the world, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, they say you're half. My mother was Irish. So
bad luck. Sorry about that.
That's all right. I mean, I still know a lot of people over there. I've still got a lot of relatives over there, although I haven't seen them for a lot of years. There are a few that I still keep in touch with.
Do you know what, Rog?
Social media.
Have you heard about recently the Irish elections?
Yes, and there's still a lot of shit going on over there about it.
Have you and I'd love to excuse me champing at the bit here, but have you heard of John Waters?
No, I don't follow the Irish part. Same as the Americans. I don't follow their politics that closely.
It's not, honest to God, Roger, it's not a case of following anyone. John Waters. I'll just say that, otherwise I'll be guilty of campaigning. Roger Waters, not Roger Waters. He's from Pink Floyd. John Waters. He's going for a MEP. He's trying to put himself in the Brussels.
Well, there you go. James has just put that perfectly in the chat there. Groups like ours that speak the truth. Now, how many thousands of people over social media say exactly the same as I say and as we say in our channels? Thousands upon thousands. There must be hundreds of thousands.
Depends on your feed, on your your YouTube feed.
In general, the amount of people that discuss and talk about the same as us. Now, can you imagine all of those people turning up in London in one hit? If everybody that complains about the government and the country turned up or was able to turn up in London all at the same time, can you imagine how many people would be there?
Dooming it up again. Don't you think that they've got a control of all this? If they see a number congregating, then they'll say, "Oh well, that's the thing there. Let's
So
stick a couple of agitators in or something."
why haven't they been able to control the pro-Palestine protests then? Although they commonly breaking the law every time they have one of them protests.
Rog, do you know UK
Because
column
they're shit
news?
scared because there's too fucking many of them. They know if they lost control of that crowd, they'd be fucked. And that's why they don't persecute. They'll go after one or two afterwards that they've caught on facial recognition and shit like that. But they won't go steaming in like they did with us lot. Because they're shit scared. There's too many of them. And that's what I'm saying. Numbers are what does it. And if we turn up with the same amount of numbers in London, they wouldn't be able to. They'd be the same. They wouldn't be able to do it. Oh, right, guys. I'm going to keep going for about 5 more minutes. That's nearly 10 o'clock now. Who deserves you? But no, it's all in the numbers. We've seen it, proved it. Now the English are fairly easy going. You could see the way it worked with the lockdown protests. The police went storming in. They'd given them a beating. But because nobody was fighting back, they got away with it. Now they know if they went storming into these pro-Palestinian protesters, they would be fight backs. The youngsters would go back at them. So would many of the older ones. And that's what they're frightened of. And that's why they let them get away with what they do. I mean, Hamas is a banned organization. It is illegal to be a member or support them, even verbally. Yet on them protests, you see and hear them verbally supporting them, carrying banners with whatever on, and they don't do nothing.
I dare even say 2-tier.
Oh, that 2-tier policing has been going on for years, mate. It's only now.
Oh shit! I know you can't even say 2-tier because it's so up. Anyway, I was just being silly.
No,
But,
you can say there's 2-tier policing in this country.
do you think that the people that we would like to think of as us, who were like and because I'm uneducated, ineducated, I'm a bit of an idiot and stuff like that, a bit of an alcoholic actually. But overall, it's like I saw all this shit coming. So what kind of intelligence is it that sees this shit coming? Even if I don't know my ass from my elbow, I can still see if the government is saying, "I'll give you a donut if you take this needle."
You don't need to have an education. You don't need to be clever to see it. All you've got to be able to do is question and recognize the fact that something isn't right.
Well, that's the. You know. Mrs. W's talking. Oh, hush.
I was just going to say, you just need your eyes open. Most of these people have their eyes wide shut.
Yeah.
Could I introduce the word intuition?
Yep. For a lot of people, it's easier just to do what they're told and get on with their life. And that's the ones that have got us in this shit.
The way I didn't get where I am today without ignoring what I'm thinking and just going along with things.
If you don't tell the police about the gathering beforehand, James, any protest, any gathering like that in London has to be put before the police before it can go ahead. Otherwise, they can shut it down just like that. The only thing, now, I don't particularly like Tommy Robinson, but I like what he stands up for a lot of the time. I don't like him as a person, but what he's saying makes sense, and a lot of it is right. The only thing he hid from the police was that documentary. Rowley and the Met Police wanted to pre-watch that video before he released it on the day, and he wouldn't let them. That was the only thing that he had hidden. They had to apply for permission to put the march on. People said, oh, the police were really good. They weren't there. They were there. They were just in the background. And they were the tactical support group. And if you look at some of the minor videos that were being streamed from around the outside,
Oh, not so many miners involved.
They were
Down the pit.
beating people unnecessarily with batons on the streets for fuck all. There weren't many incidents of it, but there is video of it out there happening. So anybody that said the police behaved themselves that day, no, they only behaved themselves where the mainstream cameras were. And the main event. Round the outside, they were just as bad as they've always been.
Have you heard of, or has anyone heard of Brian Gerrish?
No.
Ooh. Anyway, I'm sure chat will say.
Well, to be honest, mate, I mean, that's 10 o'clock, and I said I was going to shut down in 5 minutes anyway, so. Because I am getting top. That's a vaping thing. But I will say before we go, thank you again for everybody coming in the chat. Goes without saying, respectful as ever. I haven't seen anybody wave a spanner for months in the chat in here, which is, that actually says something, not about me. That actually says something about you guys, because we're the ones that wave the spanners. So you can all give yourself a big clap on the back for that one.
Do you know there's no spanner emoji?
There is.
Doesn't come up under spanner.
I've seen people using it. But no, that says something about the people that watch and join in on this stream. You know, that isn't down to me. That's down to you. The fact that we don't have to do it.
I have apologised, Rog. I have apologised.
You've done nothing to apologise for, mate. Nothing to apologise for. But with that, guys, don't forget, Friday night, 7 o'clock with the lovely Mrs. W. It is essentially ladies on the panel, although I'm lurking around in the background usually, and they do use me to take the piss occasionally, which is fair enough. I don't.
How you identify these days, apparently.
But from this one,
sorry, I was just going to say that's my link in case you wanted.
Yeah, that's Mrs. W's link to her channel.
One good thumb here waiting.
But anyway, guys.
I'll wait.
For now, as always, until we see you Friday night, that is
good
night.
Yes.
From Mrs. W in the background there.
Good night, guys. Catch you Friday.
And from me, it's stay safe, stay strong, stay free. Take care, people.
Respects.
I've got